fights tonight. A letter from Off-Gas, the gas regulator, that the people supposed to be on the customer's side. We showed it to a few people.
This is mad. How are you supposed to understand this?
It's total rubbish, really.
This is a load of, cockavoodle.
I've read the first paragraph and I can't even understand that.
Well, if this is the answer, I don't know what the question was.
What they were trying to do was make sense of this. It was sent to Mr. Tony Clack, an airline pilot from Cirencester. Now, Mr. Clack had asked Off-Gas very nicely to explain some figures. They're on the top right-hand corner of everyone's gas bill. They are a mystery. They were still a mystery when Mr. Clack received his reply from Off-Gas. We've racked our brains to think of the very best way to present the letter Off-Gas sent to Mr. Clack. Cue Eurovision Song Contest winner Katrina.
Dear Mr. Clack, I am writing in response to your letter dated Feb 11, 1997. It's just a guess.
Quite beautifully sung. Anyway, with me in the studio now is Mr. Clack, who received the now famous letter, Fran Elliott, Off-Gas Public Affairs Manager, and Brian Ford. I think we need a roll on the drums. The brainiest man in Britain, tipped to be the next chairman of Mensa. Brian, how was the letter for you?
Absolutely dreadful. I've rarely seen a worse example.
Right. Could you put it more simply for us?
Well, yes, I said to Mr. Clack that what they're really saying is that they charge people not just for the amount of gas that you use, but for the energy in it, which varies a bit. They simply measure the calorific value and they charge you for the heat you get out of the gas.
Right. Mr. Clack, does that make sense to you?
Well, Brian, I must admit your three-line paragraph makes an awful lot more sense than the whole page of gobbledygook I received from Off-Gas.
Right, well, that's very good indeed. Fran Elliott, why didn't you use the same explanation as Brian Ford could do? 3 lines.
Well, I think we wish we had used that explanation. And I think, first of all, what we'd like to say is that we're very sorry to Mr. Clack for not giving him an answer that was clear.
But you also sent him, I have to say, I don't want to be hard on you, but you sent him another letter which doesn't make any sense either.
I'm afraid that, again, we have to apologise for, and I think what we need to do now is have a quick look at some of our internal systems. It's particularly ironic that this has happened to us at this time. We've actually been working really hard to produce some user-friendly information about competition in gas supply, and this is something we hope is very understandable and easy to use.
Right, and that's much simpler.
It's much simpler. We spent a lot of time looking at the wording of it.
Right.
Sadly, we didn't do that with Mr. Clack's letter.
So you're very, very sorry, and they're going to try better. Mr. Clack, are you happy with that explanation?
Well, I will accept their apology, as long as they promise not to write letters like this again.
No, they're going to promise not to write letters like that again, aren't you? Perhaps, Brian, you could help Off-Gas in future.
They should really start training people how to write letters. I bet the bloke who wrote it had never had a moment's training in how you're supposed to do
Could
that.
you help them? Could you put it to music as well?
You're talking to an old keyboards player, my dear. Well, I'm certain that you could make an Off-Gas blues out of that, no trouble at all.
Mensa and Off-Gas, a marriage made in heaven. That's it for this evening.